Welcome to the Inject Creativity Live Chat Show. This 30-minute webinar is live on YouTube, Twitter and Facebook. And your comments and questions via these platforms are most welcome. Please keep them kind and respectful. Following this event, you are welcome to join us via the Blue Jeans online conferencing app for a 1-hour NESA-accredited workshop with our guest presenter. Now, here's your host, Dr. Tim Kitchen.
Well, thank you very much, Rob. It's so good to have you introducing our show. Welcome to the Inject Creativity Live Chat Show, being recorded via a range of social media platforms, including LinkedIn. Hopefully, fingers are crossed. We'll be checking on the recording later. And we're recording this on Wednesday, the 5th of August, 2020. I'm your host, Tim Kitchen, Adobe's Senior Education Specialist for the Asia Pacific region. Before I introduce our amazing co-host, I'd like to do an acknowledgement of country. We respect and honour Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander elders past, present and future, as well as all Indigenous people from the lands we reach out to during this event. We acknowledge their stories, their traditions and their living cultures. We acknowledge them as the first peoples in our lands, the first scientists and the first creatives. And we commit to building a brighter future together. Let's introduce our amazing co-host, Erin Rathke from Tafe, Queensland. Hi, Erin. How are you?
Hi, Tim. I'm good. How are you?
Look, I'm good, but I have to admit to you, things have changed here in Melbourne, in Victoria. We are now in a state of disaster.
Yes, there's absolutely no confusing the gravity of that particular situation with that terminology floating around, is it?
I'm not sure whether I really should be putting my mask over my microphone, but I'm alone in the studio, so we're all good. But it's interesting, we had the highest number of COVID-19 cases ever in Victoria today. Reported over 720 and many deaths. So it is very, very serious. In fact, I was watching a news report on the ABC. I think it was on the 7:30 report, where they went into intensive care units in various hospitals around Melbourne. Oh, that's when it really hit home to see what's happening at the coalface there at the extreme end. But,
absolutely. I was looking at some of the numbers, and obviously our most vulnerable people were identified as being people who are older, and obviously the stats in that demographic are devastating. But then also they did mention that there are also some quite young children who are now hospitalised as well in your state, which is very sobering and a good reminder for everybody to just, everyone does their part and follows directions, and we'll get through it together.
And we had a reported death of a 30-year-old too. Like it's getting very, very serious.
It's very sobering.
But you're from Queensland, Erin, and Queensland is in a different situation. In fact, you've become the home of AFL.
We have indeed. Although all jokes aside, there are a lot of Queenslanders who are far more ambivalent about AFL and are far more interested in the other football code that we know and love. But, we'll host the sporting events as best we can until Victoria can get everything safe and stowed away so that we can send them back to you.
And we do appreciate it. And of course, my team, the Mighty Saints, 3 wins in a row. So thank you very much for keeping the competition going. We're very excited. So what else have we got for us, Erin? What's happening today?
Well, I'm looking forward to introducing our special guest for tonight. She's Michelle Roberts, and she's actually from my workplace, Tafe, Queensland.
We'll be meeting and finding out more about Michelle very soon. As usual, helping us moderate and doing a lot of the techie things behind the scenes is my wonderful colleague, Adobe Customer Success Manager, Jerry Wong. Hi, Jerry. Going to bring yourself up? There he is, behind the scenes.
Everyone. I'll be monitoring the chat tonight, so please place your comments and let's make this chat as interactive as we can.
Jerry, we've been running a series for K-12 teachers around Australia that you really have set up and managed right from the outset, and you've done a fantastic job. Literally hundreds and hundreds of teachers from all over the country have experienced these 3-part series that we have been advertising in our previous shows. how's it been from your perspective?
Look, I think it's been really successful. Look, we've had probably over 400 registrations across the whole series, and we've just completed, all over Australia. We've completed like the sessions for New South Wales, South Australia, Victoria, and ACT. So coming up, we've got a few more for WA. So just stay tuned for that. And if you haven't been able to sort of tune in for the other sessions, please feel free to join that. So we'll put down the link for you in a little bit.
The link is there. It's being ticker taped as we speak if you're interested in seeing it. And so we're actually starting afresh with the Western Australian teachers, but anyone can join it. It's just going to be a slightly later start on the eastern suburbs to meet their time, but it's well worth going to. And it involves Brian Chow, who's an Adobe Senior Solution Consultant. It involves Steve Nichols, an Adobe Solution Consultant, and myself and Jerry. Well worth going to if you're a K-12 teacher. All right, thank you very much. Now, Jerry, just need to remind people that we are getting a chat feed from Facebook and YouTube, and I'm just having a look now to see whether we're getting it from LinkedIn as well. I can see Facebook, I can see YouTube. I'm not seeing anything from LinkedIn. Yes. So if you want to contribute to the chat, if you would like to share and publish a question or a comment on this particular show, you might want to switch over to either the YouTube channel or the Facebook group if you're part of that Facebook group so that you can contribute.
Yeah, we are seeing all the comments come in and too many people to name, so I'll just say hi in reply.
Hi, everybody. And we'll be continuing the chat during the Deeper Dive event at the top of the hour, where we'll be crossing to bluejeans.com/kitchen.adobe. And so, Jerry, if you can bring that banner up so people can see that in advance, because that's where we'll be heading in around about 23 minutes time. So be ready for that. Erin.
Yeah, and remember, during the live chat show as well as the deeper dive, the more you contribute, the more valuable the conversation and the contributions become. So keep your comments, questions, and interesting factoids coming.
And like we do every week, we're going to do a Spark Challenge again this week. Erin, what is the Spark Challenge for this week?
Okay, just going to grab my notes to make sure I don't forget any bits and pieces. So the Spark Challenge for this episode is to create a Spark page with at least 2 things you learned during the sessions tonight that you can apply in your classroom. So at least one of those things needs to be from the chat show and the other needs to be from the deeper dive section. So we are asking for the conditions of the winning entry that the Spark page must feature each of the main editing tools for adding images that appear when you select the little plus button in Spark page. So we're talking images, some text, at least one button that links off to something, a glide show, and a split layout.
So let me show you how that actually works. I'm just going to jump into my screen now, and hopefully you can see I've already logged into Spark. Spark.adobe.com is what you type in your browser address bar. If you're working on your iOS or your Android app, Spark page is only an iOS app. So if it's either on an iPad or an iPhone or on any browser, but we don't recommend Internet Explorer. It just doesn't work that well these days. So move on from Internet Explorer if you're still on it, if you're allowed to. Spark.adobe.com, there are various ways of logging in. The best way to log in, especially if you're working with students under the age of 13, is to log in through your school account. If you know you have a school federated ID, if you have a school system and enterprise agreement with Adobe, it should just work flawlessly for you. If you know you don't have that, then you've got Google, Facebook, Twitter, and Adobe. All those different IDs work for you with Adobe Spark. So I've already logged in, and you can see on the left-hand side, right at the top, there's a plus symbol. Click on that and look at all the different projects you can create. Most of those are actually Spark Post. The Instagram stories, the Facebook posts, and down the branded graphics and so on. But if you go to web page, that's Spark page, which is what we're doing today. And then there's Spark video, which is the video link. But let's jump into the web page now. And any second now, you will see the environment to build a web page, to build a Spark page. Any second now.
Any second now. Go.
Oh dear, Erin did say there were some little teething bugs happening at the moment.
Yeah,
refresh this and see if that'll
She's
prompt.
been just like a tiny bit argumentative today. I think we need to like give her some chocolate and maybe a glass of wine. She's been working hard.
She has. There are millions and millions of Spark posts and pages and videos that are uploaded every day. Here we go. So we're in it now. So add a title. So I'm going to call this one, I'll just call this one Creativity. Could have a subtitle if I wanted to, but down the bottom where that little plus symbol is, that's where you can add a photo. You can upload any image. And what most people do during these Spark challenges is they do little screen grabs of things that they thought were interesting that they could apply, and then they upload those screen grabs. That's an option. Find free photos allows you to get access to these amazing 2 sources of royalty-free images. Do you know that most images on Google are copyrighted? You're actually not allowed to use them for anything that you're going to publish, which is why it's great to go to Pixabay or Unsplash. I'm going to go to Pixabay and find my favorite photo.
Pixabay and Unsplash are fantastic because all the content that's on there has actually been uploaded for creators by creators so that they actually have a place to showcase their content. So basically they get the platform and everybody else gets to use some of their resources. It's a really great couple of platforms to use.
And this is my favorite photo. When I type in creativity in Pixabay, I get these 2 kids who are obviously working with Adobe Spark. I mean, obviously, look at the expressions on their faces. This is what learning should be always about. And as you scroll down, you can see some tools. Now, Erin was talking about the different tools. We'd like you to use every one of those tools in your Spark challenge. So add another photo, add some text, add a hyperlink, a link out to another website or another Spark page. Embed a video. Find something on YouTube that you can embed. Just grab the link and you can use that button to bring it in. Anything from YouTube, anything from Vimeo, anything from Spark Video will be able to be embedded. A grid of photos, a glide show. It's a beautiful way of presenting images on top of images or text on top of images, and a split layout where you have text on one side, image on the other side. Use all of those tools to create your page. Once you've created it, click the share button at the top, go to publish and share. Choose a category, possibly education. Where's our category? No, it's slowing down on me again now. Oh dear. Well, hopefully you won't have the same issues. It's possibly that both my wife and daughter are on Netflix right as we speak, which means things are a bit slow in this part of the world. But hopefully if you go publish and share, you can choose a category, and then there'll be a little button called Create Link. That'll generate a hyperlink. Copy that link, paste that link into the chat, because you'll be doing this in the Blue Jeans environment. By the time we move into there, there'll be a chat there for you to paste it in. Jerry will be keeping an eye out for the first one to bring it in. There we go. Oh boy, we've got some delays. So pick a category and, oh, well, we're having some issues here. Anyway, I have explained enough and spent enough time on that. Hopefully you won't have those issues. And let me just jump out of that screen and back to where we were.
The best bit of advice I can give is if you want to enter the Spark Challenge, definitely give it a crack and just don't get bogged down trying to choose your images and your buttons and fiddling around too much. Just pick something and move on. You'll always go back to the first piece of clothing that you looked at anywhere in the store, and Spark's no different.
Good advice.
So we'll have a bit of a look at the announcements we've got. So each week, the Global Adobe in Education team run the Adobe Creative Educator live stream show, which is available on demand using the Adobe for Education YouTube channel.
Adobe's own Clara Galan, who a lot of people know from our global education team, and Tanya Afrith, who you may not know. She's the education evangelist for North America. They do a great job hosting this weekly show. I'd like to highlight the show titled Helping All Children Tell Their Story through Sketchnoting, which features Adobe Fresco.
In this episode in particular, Clara and Tanya chat with an artist and Adobe education leader, Manuel Herrera, and discuss how to help all children tell their story through sketchnoting with Adobe Fresco.
With all Victorian schools now doing remote teaching from K to 12, and the possibility that other states may need to go back to teaching and learning from home, we'd like to recommend all of the benefits of the Adobe distance learning resources.
The Adobe Education team are continually creating and updating the courses, articles, and blog sections. Have a look at the blog posts, how to run online events for students, creatively managing teaching while social distancing, and creatively managing family and self-care while social distancing.
There's a new section in the Adobe distance learning resources that we'd like to also highlight. It's called Go Paperless with Your Teaching. It features a resource hub for going paperless with the Adobe Document Cloud, a resource based on creating digital worksheets for your students and more. Erin, introduce our special guest for today.
Sure thing, Tim. It is my great pleasure to introduce my colleague from Tafe, Queensland, Michelle Roberts. So Michelle's been an educator for over 25 years and is currently in the position of Senior Advisor for Educator Capability at Tafe, Queensland. And she's also an Adobe Education Leader. Welcome, Michelle.
Hello, welcome. Well, thank you.
Lovely. So did you want to let us know what you'll be sharing with us during the Deeper Dive event this evening?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to be sharing my Adobe journey. So as part of my role in learning and development at TAFE Queensland, Brisbane, I'm going to share my very humble beginnings with a small amount of Adobe training to where we are now and how the COVID period has affected our area in a really, I think it's impacted really positively. So I'm going to talk to that tonight.
That's great. It's very relevant for everyone, especially those in Victoria at the moment who are all
absolutely,
and then the potential threat for everyone else. Erin, you're also going to be sharing at the Deeper Dive event. What do you have planned?
Yeah, well, segueing from Michelle's comment about humble beginnings, my presentation tonight is about how you can expand your horizons and build your confidence by enhancing your projects, pulling them from Adobe Spark into trying things through Adobe Premiere Rush. And I've got a couple of little examples and projects that we can work through this evening.
Excellent. Good. So you got another question for Michelle there, Erin?
I do. So what's involved in being a Senior Advisor for Ed Capability at TAFE Queensland, Michelle?
So it's a very diverse role, I have to say. And generally, we have two parts of our business. We have an administrative side and an educational side. So generally, we deal with the educators. It can change daily. So we might be called in from a director of faculty to say there's a particular issue, and we might create some training or pull in people, the necessary experts in to meet a training gap within a faculty. What's great about it is, one day we might be dealing with vet science and they have a faculty where they bring their dogs and they have, little cages at their desk, chickens running around, to, probably more formal workplaces in dental, engineering, nursing. So dealing, I guess, with the different personalities of each industry is always interesting and always different. We run new educator induction programs, mentoring programs, lots of working groups, and let me think what else. But primarily our main role is supporting educators. And during the period of COVID, lots of webinars, obviously. So we were tied to the computers. So I think I have a great role. So a busy role, but an interesting one.
A worthwhile one too.
Michelle, yes. TAFE Queensland is massive, and I've had a little bit to do with it over the years, but I don't think I fully appreciate just how large it is. Can you explain what TAFE Queensland actually is?
And it's interesting. In my presentation, I just added that last minute, Tim, because it is it's a very big beast, I think. So we used to be separate regions, and now we have become one big organisation. So we are all under the banner of TAFE Queensland for the state of Queensland, although we still sit within our region. So, for example, I'm TAFE Queensland Brisbane, and there's 11 campuses across Brisbane, and they range from Logan through to Caboolture. So yes, it can vary, but now we are becoming more cohesive, that we're on more, I guess, statewide working groups and collaborating a little bit more than what we had previously.
I don't want to fib. I think there's the number something along the lines of the TAFE Queensland footprint covers over 50,000 square kilometres.
Wow.
Something like that,
Right.
because we extend all the way from Gold Coast all the way up to far north Queensland.
Yes,
So
yes.
it's a big
So
footprint and a big community to communicate across as well.
it is, exactly.
And so important. And of course, most of this year it has been affected by COVID. Tell us about how COVID has affected your work and the work of the teachers at Tafe Queensland.
I think on the whole, very positively. I think that there's only the minority of educators that probably were more technically challenged by the change of essentially their whole practice. So it was really enlightening, I think, to see people come on board, and I think people realised that. I think taking that fear factor out and having to actually dive into the new way of operating was probably a really good thing. For example, I've got some stats. I was ready for this question. So for last semester during the COVID period, our small team, which is a team of 4 trainers, we delivered 89 sessions, and we had 1,300 participants through that time, which is, you know, very a very busy schedule for us. So yeah, it was interesting, and I'm going to talk to that more in depth in my presentation tonight, and how I think that will be a really positive going forward as well.
That's great. And Erin, before you ask the next question, just want to get a sense, are the teachers now back in class? Is it back to face-to-face teaching in Queensland with the TAFE sector or not?
I think blended, Tim. To be honest, probably what we heard is that there were more students coming back on campus, but when you're on campus, it doesn't feel like you've got that really busy campus life that existed prior to COVID. So I would definitely say a lot more of a blended model. So, and teachers, it's interesting. I asked for some feedback from some educators for tonight to get a feel for what was happening on the ground, and a lot of them are saying their participation is rate of participation's higher, their completion rate is better, and there's more engagement with the students. So that wasn't what I expected to be the response from some of the other data that I have seen. So that was really encouraging.
The students are just so happy to be able to speak to different people and get out of the house.
Yes, exactly. Possibly. Yeah.
Learn me all the things.
Well, you're a step ahead of Victoria anyway. We're still very much housebound and probably will be for a while.
And so, we feel for you, Tim. We want to send out love to all the Victorians. We know how tough that is.
Yeah, thanks for sure.
It's a hard time.
I particularly feel for the Year 12 students.
Absolutely.
Although it could be a good thing that maybe schoolies isn't happening, because a lot of decision making gets made at that time of year that might not be so great. So
you probably wouldn't allow them into Queensland anyway, where a lot of the schoolies happens.
No, well, most years the locals down near schoolies don't especially want the schoolies there.
Michelle, getting back to blended learning, it's an interesting concept, and it's been accepted as professional practice now for professional educators to be doing a blended learning approach for a number of years. It's not a new thing. It's been around for quite a while, and yet it hasn't overly been accepted by the majority of educators in my experience. I remember it was back in 2001. So we're talking 18 years ago when I introduced the learning management system Blackboard to my school.
Yes, we had Blackboard at Tafe Queensland and loved it, yes.
Yeah, well, it took a long time. I would have to say it took about 10 years of constant nagging before I got the teachers to really accept a learning management system and therefore blended learning and the concept of it. It took a long time, but we eventually got there. And even now when I travel to schools and universities and TAFEs and polytechniques around the Australia, New Zealand and Asia Pacific region, I think we've still got a long way to go. What's the journey been like at TAFE Queensland in terms of blended learning? Is it an accepted thing that you'll be working with your learning management system as much as you would be, in a sense, face-to-face?
I think I definitely agree with you about the journey. I think, and I must say, I'm an old educator myself, so I think there's a fear factor that we thought, you know, going online we were going to lose our jobs and our security, and I think we now know that that's not the case, and I think most educators would agree that there's a lot more work that goes into online delivery, so being prepared for really engaging online delivery. I think COVID has changed everything, Tim. I think COVID has really opened people up to looking at how learning management systems can benefit them. I think before COVID, we probably saw that it was a repository for files, and now we're seeing real engagement with our learning management system at the moment. So I think we're really seeing a progression in the last 6 months that possibly would have taken us years to achieve. So we're really excited about the possibility. And I must admit, our team really responded to that and tried to break down learning for the educators so that they could, you know, I guess pick small bits and pieces each week to go on with. And I think those breaking that down into small chunks really helped as well.
It is that scaffolding is, it makes it so much easier, because it can be quite intimidating going into a learning management system and just getting used to the navigation and where the tools you are, where the tools you need are located. So yeah, those little tiny bits and pieces are so much better, and necessity is the mother of engagement and invention.
That's so
exactly.
true.
And I think oh, sorry, Tim.
So we might hold off on the next question we had planned, because I think Michelle's going to be answering. The question was all about how Adobe helped you with your work, and that's going to be basically the topic that you'll be talking about during the deeper dive.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Michelle, I interrupted you. Just a final word from you.
I think one of the things that we really enjoyed with feedback from educators is that they felt safe. They knew us. We'd established the relationship, and including Adobe training, which was part of that. You know, the familiar face, trusted and safe people was really important as well. So that was feedback we didn't expect to receive.
Cool. And Timothy Cosgrove from Canada is with us at the moment. Can you believe? Fabulous. All the way from Toronto, saying using an LMS in Toronto schools is similar experience to what is happening elsewhere. I've been using Brightspace by D2L for several years, and you know, that's what educators are doing these days. Thank you very much, Timothy. We look forward to hearing from you, and thank you for contributing. We didn't have a lot of contributors during this chat, but hopefully we'll get you to chat a little bit more during the deeper dive event. Erin, some announcements. Thanks, Michelle.
Yes. So the Global Adobe and Education team recently launched the Adobe Creative Educators Program.
This is a program for all educators in all curriculum areas. You don't have to be an Adobe expert to be in this program.
So what we need to do to find out more is hover your camera over this QR code that's on the screen, or type the link in to find out more about the 1-hour Creativity for All course on the Adobe Education Exchange. So it's an entry requirement for the Adobe Creative Educators Program. And are we going to show the short video about the Creativity for All course, Tim?
Don't think so. People can look that up on the Adobe Education Exchange, just because we want to make sure we start the deeper dive event on time.
Yep, it's a great video. Give it a look.
Absolutely. The 2020 Apac Adobe Education Summit is happening during the September holidays between September 29 and October 1. Make sure you register your interest to be involved via the link or QR code on this slide, if you haven't already. We will share some more information about the summit during the deeper dive show.
If you are on Facebook and you're not already, become a member of the Australasian Adobe Education Community Facebook group. So you can join it. Use the link that's up on the screen now. It's a great way to keep regularly involved with Adobe in education and meet some of your colleagues from across this grand area of our world.
And there we are, folks. We're getting very close to the top of the hour. So I want to say thank you to Michelle for joining us for the chat show. We are literally a minute away from moving to the Blue Jeans room. So Jerry, let's get that up again. Jump into this Blue Jeans room for the Inject Creativity Live event at bluejeans.com/kitchen.adobe. Thank you to Jerry behind the scenes. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, everyone who's been watching this live via either Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or hopefully, if it's all worked, LinkedIn as well. And join us again next week for our chat show. But right now, please move over to Blue Jeans for the Deeper Dive event, and we'll see you there. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye.